What's going on, people? Welcome to Villa in Noir. It's Julian here. Welcome to this week's midweek mashup. This is a chance for me to just talk about all things Aston Villa throughout the week. If there's been any changes and any shifts throughout the week, especially during this transfer window, it's important that we talk Villa. Listen, I've finally managed to calm down after the weekend. To be honest, I've been watching different commentaries about the game, different Villa fans channels, different perspectives, and you know what I've realized is that my point of view is not one that is absurd. My point of view isn't one that people don't get. Before we get into that, because I'm just going to show you some things from the stats from the game and just give you some of my thoughts on that. What I will say is that there hasn't been much movement in the transfer market as yet. I'm recording this on Tuesday evening. Not much going on. There's been like a bit of a back and forth between us and Chelsea regarding to Nicholas Jackson, and obviously I think there's other teams that are interested in him. I think I saw Tottenham involved in there, I believe, or Newcastle, sorry, who were trying to vie for him. And then now apparently there's some external or some clubs in mainland Europe that are interested in him, which makes it less likely that we are going to get him, which I don't know if it is the end of the world, and I'll get back to that later because there's something I want to bring up. But yeah, I think it's only right that I actually talk about Saturday, man. Again, like, I don't know if anyone watched my reaction vid. Like, I was really frustrated. Like, that was one of the worst, not what worst, but I think it was one of the most frustrating Villa performances I've watched, and I've watched a few, mainly because I have high expectations for the team. Spotlight. I believe that especially our starting 11 is good enough to compete with the best of them. We were doing it last season. I think we have been hit with things, and I know that PSR and all that kind of stuff gets into it, but ultimately we actually have quality, and I believe we have a quality manager, but I think he needs to have a think about his tactics. It seems as though there's a little bit of staleness about what he's doing, and also seems like there is a stubbornness that I mentioned last week. And any one of my friends that I speak to about football, I've been saying it about certain types of managers. They do their things their way. They don't budge. But you're in the Premier League, and the Premier League is a league that always evolves. And what worked last season may not work this season. What worked 2 seasons ago may not work this season. And I think Villa have a style of play. And it worked. I think when he came in and he changed our philosophy, you definitely made us a more middle attack through the middle team. It worked, and he brought in players that would do it. But now I think teams have kind of cottoned on to the way in which we play, and just know that they just need to sit back and just hold the fort. And there's going to be no real effort to break down any mid or low block. One thing I was going to say about Saturday, because I was looking at the stats. So if we look at the stats real quick, just right quick, let's just slap it on there. All right, cool. Let's go. So hopefully you can see this. Let me zoom in a little bit. All right, cool. So these are the overall stats for the game. So Villa, I know that I was very critical about what we were doing on the weekend, but we had 76% possession. We had more shots. Interestingly, we didn't have that many big chances, but that's the issue that I was talking about on Saturday. The fact that we have so much possession, we have the ball, but we don't create chances. And total shots is 17, but not big chances means that they're probably shots from outside the box. On the flip side, our goalkeeper only had to make one save. He was pretty much unbusy for the whole game. More corner kicks, less fouls committed or conceded. Nearly, in fact, I think it's over 400 more passes than the other team. 587 passes to the 178. Less tackles made, more free kicks, more yellow cards. But look at this. more passes, more than double, nearly triple the amount of passes that they have. In fact, it is triple, over triple, than the other team had. Yet, no results. And this is the problem that Unai needs to figure out. And this is where I think this really kind of gives it away. If you look at the attack map on this graph, our highest concentration of play is in this area here, right in the middle of the park. Right in the middle of the park. And then next to that, it's the two areas to the side of it. So we don't really progress. What it's saying here is that we do not progress the ball into the final third. If we do, it's mainly down the left-hand side, which again highlights our problems when I've been saying we have no right-hand side attack. And this has been the case since midway through last season when Morgan Rogers was moved to the right-hand side. He's not a right-handed side player. Or McGinn was playing there. He's not a right-hand side player. So all teams needed to do, and if you notice, our form in the latter half of the season outside of the Champions League really did drop off. All the teams needed to do was like, okay, we know that they've got nothing coming down the right, so let's just funnel them down the left. Funnel them down the left, get them into a trap, and then we'll get them on the counter attack. And that is what has been the blueprint to playing Villa for the last 6 months. And the sad thing about this is nothing has changed since the end of last season. Not one thing has changed. I've watched 2 games so far in the Premier League, and it just looks like the same team that's playing as before. Here we go. So again, it just says it all here. You know what I'm trying to say? No progression, or hardly any progression into the final third. Nothing in the middle, which means that our centre forward's not getting any service, which I think is even displayed in the amount of touches that Ollie Watkins had. I think he had about 14 touches or 18 touches, or something like that throughout the whole game. I might be wrong, but it was something quite low considering he's our focal point, our pivot point in attack. You know, just nothing going forward. Again, our passing map, most of our passes are in the middle of the park. 514 accurate passes to their 128. You know, this thing. It says here passes in the final third is 76%. But what does that say to me then? Because it says most of our concentration of play is here, but there's loads of passes in the final third. It says 136 out of 180. It means that there's no turnover. It means, I'm gonna come back to the main screen now. It means that there's no product. And this is what we've got to fix. Because what will happen is, before we know it, is that we will be in a hole before Christmas, in a hole by October, a similar hole to one that we were in with Gerrard. Because this is the same how it started when he was that season where he flopped. This is how it started. And by October, we were needing a new manager. And I don't want that to happen to Unai, because I believe in his ability as a manager. I really do. However, I just think he needs to shake things up a little bit. And I know that there's PSR. I know that things are stacked against us in that regard, where we can't bring in the players that we probably could do, especially with the finances in terms of our owners. But because of the PSR rules, it makes it difficult. However, I read an article earlier, and I'm gonna quickly just show it to you guys, if I may. If I may. Yeah, it's on the BBC website. It's a fan article, actually, by a guy called David Michael, and it's just the first paragraph, and the first few paragraphs that are really interesting. So let me just show you this. Yeah, there we go. It's this. All right, it says, yeah. Says bar Emery Martinez's suspension for Newcastle United and Ezri Constance for Brentford. The only change to the side in the opening 2 games to the one that beats Paris Saint-Germain in PSG in last season's Champions League quarterfinal. Second leg was Ollie Watkins starting instead of Marcus Rashford. This is a strong team and should be playing like one. This is what I'm saying. My point is, we have a decent squad. This is the same team that went toe to toe with PSG. I know it was one game. I know it was a one-off, but we went toe to toe with the European champions. And if it wasn't for tiredness and just a long season, they probably would have been Club World Cup champions as well. Toe to toe, out of everybody in the knockout stages in the Champions League, we gave them the most problems, and it was this squad. It was it was these players. So I think, in some respects, to say that PSR is a problem, it is a problem, but to say it's the reason why we can't do anything, or why we can't beat Brentford, and why we can't challenge Newcastle, or do something special against Newcastle, is a whole load of rubbish, because these are the same players. And even then, if we take our minds back to that game against PSG, until the rubber hit the road, it was the same thing. And this is what I don't understand. I feel like I see the same thing every week with Unai. We play this pragmatic, systematic, build-up style football, which is not a problem. And when it doesn't work, we go to a plan B where we start playing expansive, fast-paced football. And it's only when we're losing or we're trying to win the game, we know we can win the game, and we start pressing high and all this kind of stuff. And what I see from the top teams is that they manage to play this style of game, a more high pressured game, fast moving game, as just part of their philosophy. It's difficult to watch at the moment. If I'm honest with you, it's difficult to watch at the moment because, I know this team can do well. And I'm invested, and we are invested as Villa fans. But what we don't want to happen is get so excited about how things have been that we become okay with mediocrity. This is a big club, massive club. We've got Birmingham, them dirty Zulus across the way that are getting all this acclaim because of their owner and all this kind of stuff, and they're gonna be a new ground and all that kind of stuff. Like, we are the pride of Birmingham, and what we need to make sure is that we act like it and play like it and uphold the standard that we do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So let's again, in that article, further down in the article, it continues to say, yes, there are big picture concerns regarding PSR and UEFA wage caps, limiting clubs challenging the top 6. But let's be honest, they also exist to protect the clubs from themselves. And that's true. It is true. This is the thing that was really interesting. So since Unai Emery arrived, Villa have had 6 transfer windows. Of all the arrivals, only Morgan Rogers and Yuri Tillemans have been unqualified successes. The jury is still out on 50 million record signing Amadou Onana. Meanwhile, close to 100 million has gone on Ian Matson, Daniel Marlon, and Ivan Gesand, all bench warmers so far. Marlon and Gesand were brought in to potentially play on the right-hand side, yet this season Emery has persisted with left-footed John McGinn there, disrupting the team's balance and fluidity. No lies told. And reading that article, it actually made me think, is Emery doing a good job in the transfer window? Because I've up until that point, when I really just kind of looked at it quite objectively and from afar, I've been happy with how he's operated in the transfer market. But the person's right. The 2 successes that he had weren't big spends. 8 million for Rodgers, 3 for Yuri. We can sell players. I can tell you that. We know how to sell players. But the spends that he has, it's clear that he's spending money, and either the talent doesn't materialize or doesn't trust it. Because I was under the impression that the likes of Marlon would come into give us width, give us pace, give us an attacking impetus. And up until now, it's still not happened. I thought maybe the end of last season, because he wasn't able to play in the Champions League, it was like, okay, we've got to get some continuity with other players playing, because you won't be able to play in the big games that we're going to be in. So I was like, this season is going to be the season that he kicks on. Nothing. So I'm going to be watching it. I'm going to be just being honest, you know, with my assessment of, you know, is Unai genuinely good at this transfer fee? We have to be honest. We have to be honest. We have to be honest. So yeah, just really interesting watch. A really interesting read, and I just really hope that we get it together. You know, I said I think we've got one more game before the international break. We've got Crystal Palace on Sunday. Quick little nod, or not nod, little notification that I will be watching that game live. I'll be doing a watch along, so you'll be able to watch on YouTube, on Twitch as well. But obviously, yeah. But you'll be able to watch on YouTube. So look out for that stream. Hopefully, hopefully we have a good game so that I can be smiling and not getting angry on the stream. But yeah, I'm hoping this is the game that we just step out. You know, Crystal Palace again. The difficulty is Crystal Palace is another team that is like Brentford. Lots of disruption over the summer. Even to the other day, lost their talisman. But also the same team that knocked us out of the Carabao Cup, beat us in the semi-final of the FA Cup, and continues to have a very good record against us in the league. Hopefully we can pull a win out of the bag. I wouldn't want to go 3 games without a win. I would hope that we score in this game. We haven't scored. I haven't even touched the goal. So yeah, we got to sort it out. And some of these guys are playing for their international places. You know, Watkins isn't looking like he's going to be anywhere near that squad. Doesn't deserve it. Rodgers, I know that Tuchel is a fan, but at present, nothing. Got to get it together. And I think you know what, and this is something that I was thinking yesterday when I was watching the Liverpool Newcastle game. JJ looked like he had a new lease of life. Watching Grealish, even though he's not our ex-player, like he's from Manchester City to Everton, new lease of life. Watching him play against playing that game for Everton, it was like watching Grealish of old with Villa. You get me? And I was like, even part of me was like, boy, really know how to give people away. And also, like, would there have been any positivity in maybe bringing Jack back? Too late now. But looking at what we're seeing, you know, can you imagine a front four of Grealish on the left, Morgan Rodgers in the middle, and whoever else on the right that actually can play on the right? It wouldn't be chaos, man. Even JJ, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? Like this. Anyway, I don't want to get too enamored with fantasy, but yeah, we've got things to do. We've got work to do, and I really hope that Unai just really does do his job. He's paid to do this. Yeah, he's paid to do this. So come on, do your job. And I'll see you on Sunday for the live watch along of Palace versus Villa. Up the Villa. This is Villa in Noir. Julian out.